Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my book haul for August 2022. In my last book haul video, I do these monthly, I spent a bit of time whining about the fact that July had been my birthday month, but unfortunately I wasn't able to see any of my family members, and hence I did not receive any of the birthday gift books that I obviously so richly deserved. But now, luckily, I was able to see my parents a couple of weeks ago, and a few other times as well. But anyway, they were gracious enough, among other things, to bring me some books as offerings, as it were, for the occasion of my birth. And I am excited to share them with you now. And I should also mention that they very graciously stick to the list that I give them, because my TBR list is so ridiculously long as it is, although I do have one special surprise at the end. But anyway, the first book I have to show you is Orphan Number 8 by Kim Van Alchemady. And this was one of my top of the Goodreads books, in that I put it on my Goodreads TBR so long ago, I think around 2018 or so, and now it is at the top of that list, and I have a resolution for the year to read, my top books. And I'm sure I found it on the Jewish Book Council site, because there is a little bit of Jewish history percolating through this book. Also, my mother was very intrigued and was upset that she had to leave it here. But I feel more justified, because I'm definitely going to be reading it in the next couple of months. Although maybe we could read it in our book club together and get the ball rolling that way for her to be able to read it. I'm not sure. We'll have to discuss it with our members. But anyway, I thought I'd go ahead and read a summary from the back. In 1919, 4-year-old Rachel Rabinowitz is placed in the Hebrew infant home, where Dr. Mildred Solomon is conducting medical research on the children. Dr. Solomon subjects Rachel to an experimental course of X-ray treatments that establish the doctor's reputation while risking the little girl's health. Now it is 1954, and Rachel is a nurse in the hospice wing of the old Hebrews home, when elderly Dr. Solomon becomes her patient. Realizing the power she holds over the helpless doctor, Rachel embarks on a dangerous experiment of her own design. Before the night shift ends, Rachel will be forced to choose between forgiveness and revenge. Inspired by true events, Orphan Number 8 is a powerful novel about the human capacity to harm and to love. So yeah, I feel like this summary gives it a more thriller feel than in fact it actually is. Perhaps one of the reasons, given the Jewish Book Council review, that I might have actually gone ahead and put it on my TBR. Or in either case, I feel a little more relieved that it's less about the salaciousness, and I think it might be leaning a little more literary. I went ahead and I read some Goodreads reviews of people who were disappointed in that fact. And also a surprising amount of Goodreads reviews, probably only a couple, but they just made me depressed, who objected to the agenda of the fact that Rachel is a lesbian. It seems like that, it's not proclaimed on the back, but apparently she, has relations with women somehow, and apparently some readers found that objectionable. I guess that's still the world we live in, but anyway, I'm excited to see what I think of this. And the next book I have is The Art of Revision, The Last Word by Peter Ho Davis, which I think I only heard about recently, or came to my attention recently. Anyway, it's, a book on writing craft, and for some reason it did catch my attention quite recently, so I asked for it, and I certainly hope to be reading it sometime in the future. I think I want to take NaNoWriMo month to do a little bit of writing craft reading, along with, writing 50,000 words, including of fiction in that month. NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month. It takes place in November. So anyway, I'm adding this to my collection, and I certainly hope to be getting to it soon. And next we move into science fiction with The World Gives Way, which is by Marissa Levine. This is a book I heard about basically a year ago during San Diego Comic-Con, which in 2021 was still taking place virtually, and that meant that all of the writing and publishing panels were online. And alas, now that it was back in person in 2022, I didn't get to, just watch all of the, marketing that all the top 5 SFF publishers and so forth were putting together. And anywho, this is published by Orbit, which is a Hachette imprint, and they brought her on, line for the Comic-Con panel. So that's how I heard about the book, and I wrote a blog post where I basically put it as one of the books that most intrigued me out of all the SDCC panels, because it takes place on a generation ship, and I love the idea of generation ships, the idea that, humans leave Earth en masse on a ship together, but the idea is that, wherever they are journeying to is so far away that it'll take more than one generation to get there, so that these people will live out their lives on the ship, and some of their descendants will then reach some destination. I just I love that premise. Although I feel like in this case maybe there's a conceit in here that is a little more of that thriller mystery vibe than is my usual go-to, so I will read from the flap to explain. In 50 years, Mira Dahl will be free. Until then, she's a contract worker in a world that demands her sacrifice. Ever since she was 5 years old, her life and labor have belonged to the highest bidder on her contract: butchers, laundries, and now the elite, secretive Carlyles. But when one night finds the Carlyles dead, Mira is suddenly free a lot sooner than she anticipated, and at a cost she never could have imagined. Burdened with the Carlyles' orphan daughter, and with the terrible secret they died to escape, she bolts. With time running out, Mira must come face to face with the truth about her world and embrace what's left before it's too late. So yeah, I feel like you can see what I mean with that, because here I am talking about generation ships, but from that description, you'd have no idea that this didn't take place on Earth, or it was, it could be a, a realist novel completely. But I think Levine actually set this on a generation ship because she wanted to explore the idea of oppression and indentured servitude and that sort of thing in her own, world-building conceit. So that's why she built her own. Those themes certainly intrigue me as well. So that was one reason why I wanted to get to this book. I was actually hoping I might find it on audio through my library. I often listen to SFF books that way, but this one, my library never got it, alas, and it is a standalone book, so, I kind of feel justified in, buying one copy and supporting Levine in her debut efforts, especially since I don't have to worry about, falling in love with a series of a cajillion books and then what to do then. And finally, for something a little more personal and a little more special, this is the pamphlet that I had made up for my Bat Mitzvah back in 1996, where technically this computer design seems amateur even for then, but but I guess that's what we were going with, or maybe I should be kinder to myself with that. At least it's green, my favorite color. So anyway, this little pamphlet is, it has like a lot of supplemental readings and songs that supported the Shabbat service where I became Bat Mitzvah back in the day. So I chose a lot of these different readings and meditations and that sort of thing. It also has the text of the Torah reading that we read from that day, and the Haftorah reading as well. The Torah reading was from Deuteronomy, and the Haftorah is from the prophets from Isaiah. Let's get to that. Okay. And then at the very end, we have a few pieces of my, preteen writing. I wrote a sort of mini essay and I guess this might be a poem of sorts. Yeah, I think you could say that. And this is my second essay in the back, which talks more specifically about my bat mitzvah, kind of. The other two actually are sort of ruminations on secret places. One is the poem is a secret place that I kind of created in my own head called Roseland Lane. And then the essay, the prose, was about a stream behind my childhood house and how I used to go back there and how it felt very secretive. So yeah, it is strange to read through these. This last piece, which is about my bat mitzvah, is a little disconcerting to read through now because apparently I have no memory of this, recollection of this, but I compared, my bat mitzvah to a story I read in a Highlights magazine, a magazine for children, which was about a young girl losing her cat. And I had no idea, of course, way back then, that I would pick this up again 30 years later, and or almost 30 years later, and be dealing with my own cat who is dying right now. And so that's a bit harrowing. And I connected it, I think, this young girl in the story losing her cat to the death of childhood and some of the things I was experiencing then. In fact, my bat mitzvah year, it was a really difficult year for me when I was 12. I was basically suffering a depressive episode. I was in therapy and on medication, although I do feel like my bat mitzvah, in fact, and preparing for it, was a major impetus in sort of bringing me out of the lowest parts of myself and putting me back in the world, sort of committing to everything I had to do for my bat mitzvah, where I, chanted Torah and Haftorah and also led most of the Shabbat services. That's how I remember it in hindsight, but in this essay I was talking a bit about things I thought about then about the fears of the loss of childhood and moving on from innocence. And it's strange to look back on it and think about, I guess, a new loss of innocence, in that now I, as an adult, have a cat who I am seeing through hospice as she is dying of cancer, and just how, I guess, these things repeat. And just talks about, I talk in here about how, in a way, and I guess an amateur way really, how things that are gone don't die completely because you remember them. So in a way I feel like my past self has delivered a message I need to hear it in the here and now. So on that somber note, I guess that about covers it for me now. I will leave Goodreads links for all the published books I mentioned linked down below. We're coming on to a holiday weekend in the U.S., and that also means in the D.C. area that the Library of Congress is putting on the National Book Festival, another big event that is coming back in person this year after a few years off for COVID. And I am excited to go. I'm going to go with my father, and I think I'm going to try to film some of it, give some literary excitement for this channel again. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be there. My excitement, I might have, stayed all day, in the past, but, my excitement is a little dimmed by the fact that I don't want to be away from my cat too long during this time. So hopefully I'll still get a fair bit out of it. I have some, authors I hope to see and a book to get signed and just walking around and getting that wonderful ambiance again. So stay tuned for that. I do feel a little more steady actually leaving my cat alone, because this morning I had an in-house visit with the vet, and Missy was prescribed some medicine, which I started giving her tonight. It's something I've been hoping for a while, to have, these medicines to ease Missy's pain as much as is possible, the point of hospice treatment. So hoping for the best. Whatever the best may be, I know it feels very relative in these times, but we do what we do as we survive the world. So anyway, I hope you are all having a good start to September. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.